What if I told you that some of the most powerful secrets to building wealth aren't from some modern-day financial guru, but from a city that's, get this, 6,000 years old? Today, we're digging into the incredible, timeless wisdom of ancient Babylon to find some very practical cures for a lean purse. So let's jump in.
All right, so our story starts in Babylon, which was hands down the wealthiest city of the ancient world. But, behind all its glittering walls and golden gates, there was this really deep-seated problem, and it holds a seriously powerful lesson for all of us today.
Babylon was a city of just incredible contrasts. On one hand, you've got this dazzling, unimaginable wealth, towering palace walls, temples just gleaming with gold. But on the other hand, dire poverty. Most of the people living there were struggling, their purses were empty, and they were living right in the shadow of all that grandeur. That was the central paradox of the whole city.
And look, this wasn't just some minor issue nobody noticed. No, this was a full-blown crisis that went all the way to the top. When King Sargon came back from a victorious war, he took a look around and realized his kingdom was in a state of economic despair. All the gold, all the wealth, was concentrated in the hands of just a few people, leaving pretty much everyone else with nothing.
Now the king was smart. He realized this just couldn't last. He didn't want a city with a few super rich guys. He wanted Babylon to be a city of many wealthy men. But for that to happen, he knew the people needed a teacher, someone who had truly, genuinely mastered the laws of money.
So the king asked his chancellor a really simple but incredibly important question. Who in all of Babylon has really cracked the code? Who knows how to build wealth from the ground up? The search was on for that one person who held the secret.
And the answer? Well, it was crystal clear. One name stood head and shoulders above everyone else: Arkad. He was famous for his incredible fortune, sure, but also for his generosity. He was, without a doubt, the richest man in Babylon. So what was Arkad's secret sauce? Did he inherit a bunch of money? Nope. Did he have some special connection to the king? Not at all. When the king asked him what he started with, Arkad's answer was so simple. His starting capital was just a powerful, burning desire for wealth and literally nothing else. And that's what makes his story and his advice so powerful. It's accessible to anyone.
So the king summons Arkad and gives him a mission: teach this wisdom to the people. And Arkad agrees. He organizes all his secrets, these powerful yet simple truths, into what he called the 7 cures for a lean purse. Today, we're going to break down the first 2.
The very first cure has this wonderfully old-timey name: start thy purse to fattening. It sounds a bit formal, right? But in our modern language, it translates to one of the most famous financial rules of all time: pay yourself first. Arkad's instruction here was so clear. It was just simple math. For every 10 coins that you get, you only spend 9 of them. That last coin, that 10th coin, is yours to keep. He promised that if you just do this one thing, your purse, your savings, will immediately start to grow. It really is that simple. But see, this simple math is built on top of a really profound shift in your mindset. Before you pay your rent, before you pay for groceries, before you pay anyone else, a part of what you earn belongs to you. You have the first claim on your own work. This isn't about saving what's left over, it's about taking your share right off the top.
This slide really illustrates the choice that Arkad laid out for his students. The 9 coins you spend, they go towards satisfying daily wants, things that are often gone and forgotten pretty quickly. But that 1 coin you keep, that's different. That goes toward building real substantial wealth. Things like gold, land, investments that can actually make you more money down the road. Okay, so let's see how this builds with the second cure. This one goes right after the single biggest objection people have to the first cure. You know that feeling that there's just never enough money to save in the first place? Yeah, this is for that.
Listen to this. Arkad's students asked him the exact same question we ask ourselves today. It's timeless, isn't it? How on earth can I save 10% when it feels like 100% isn't even enough to cover my necessary expenses?
And here is Arkad's absolute genius insight into human nature. He explained that our so-called necessary expenses have this funny little habit of magically expanding to meet our income, no matter how much we make. Today, we have a name for it. We call it lifestyle inflation. But the Babylonians understood this thousands of years ago.
So what's the defense against this? A budget. But hold on, before you groan, Arkad totally reframed what a budget is. It's not a tool of restriction, it's a tool of intention. Its purpose isn't to tell you no, It's to make sure you can pay for your necessities, you can enjoy life, and most importantly, you can protect your biggest, most cherished goals from being chipped away by all those little, casual wishes. I absolutely love this metaphor from the book. A budget is like turning on a bright light in a dark cave. It doesn't trap you, it just shows you where your money is actually going. It reveals the leaks in your purse so that you have the power to stop them and point your money where you really want it to go.
So we've got the first two cures: pay yourself first and control your spending. Now these ideas might sound familiar, and well, that's exactly the point. This isn't just a history lesson. This is wisdom that is just as real and relevant today as it was thousands of years ago in Babylon.
George Clason, the author of the book, he puts it perfectly. These aren't just tips or some good ideas. The principles of getting, keeping, and growing money are fundamental laws. They're just like the law of gravity. They are universal, and they are unchanging.
The physical city of Babylon? Well, it's gone. Its massive walls and grand temples have all crumbled into dust, but its greatest treasure was never the gold sitting in its vaults. It was the wisdom of its people, and that's a treasure that has been preserved and passed down through all these years.
And that brings us to the final crucial point from Arkad. Wealth isn't some finite thing we all have to fight over. It's something that grows wherever people decide to put their energy. So the question he leaves for us, and the one I'll leave with you, is this: where are you going to choose to exert your energy?
Welcome back. Today, we're taking a trip thousands of years into the past, back to the amazing city of Babylon. Why? Because we're about to unlock a set of rules for wealth that are just as powerful today as they were back then. All right, let's get right into it.
So, picture this. You're sitting around a campfire in the desert. An old, incredibly wise merchant named Kalabab looks you right in the eye and asks you that exact question. A bag of gold or a tablet with wisdom on it? Which do you take? Your answer, as we're about to find out, could literally shape your entire financial destiny.
All right, here's the game plan for unpacking this ancient secret. We're going to start with that big choice: wisdom or gold. Then we'll dig into the 5 laws themselves. After that, we'll see them put to the test in an incredible 10-year journey. We'll even look at some cautionary tales, and finally, we'll bring it all back to how you can use this stuff today. Let's do this.
So, that choice between instant cash and the know-how to build wealth, it's not just some philosophical riddle. No, it's the absolute bedrock of everything that comes next. It's the one question that really sets the course for your financial life.
You see, this merchant Kalabab, he promised his men something way better than gold. He told them he was going to share the story of Arkad, the richest man in all of Babylon, and the 5 laws of gold that Arkad himself taught his own son.
So, what are these mysterious laws? Honestly, think of them less as a strict set of rules and more like a treasure map. A guide that, if you actually follow it, could lead anyone, and I mean anyone, to lasting wealth.
And here they are, the whole shebang. Number 1, always keep at least 1/10 of what you earn for yourself. 2, make that money work for you, so it's earning more money. 3, get your financial advice from people who are actual experts. 4, don't invest in things you know nothing about. And finally, number 5, if a deal sounds way too good to be true, it is. Run away. Seems simple, doesn't it? But man, is it profound.
Now, talk is cheap, right? To really see these laws in action, we've got the ultimate case study. Let's look at Nomasar, Arkad's son, who was put through a decade-long trial by fire to prove he was worthy of his father's immense fortune.
So Arkad gives his son both things, the gold and the wisdom. The challenge wasn't just go get rich. It was a test to see which of those 2 gifts Nomasir would actually value and use. He sent out into the world and told, "Come back in 10 years and tell me what you've done." Okay, this is where it gets really good. Look at this timeline. At first, he completely ignores the tablet. He bets his gold on a horse race. Gone. He gets into a business deal with some guy who has no idea what he's doing. Poof, gone again. Totally broken alone, he finally picks up that clay tablet and starts reading. He starts saving. He finds smart people to guide him. And over the next several years, he slowly builds it all back, returning home a decade later way richer than when he started.
And this quote, this is his big aha moment. Standing in front of his father, Nomasir basically says, "I get it now. The wisdom on this tablet was the real treasure all along." If he just valued the knowledge over the cash from the very beginning, he never would have lost the cash in the first place.
And the proof of his incredible turnaround, it's right here. He didn't just come back with the original bag of gold his dad gave him. Oh no, he came back with that bag plus 2 more. He tripled the initial investment, proving that the wisdom on that tablet wasn't just about protecting wealth.
It was about multiplying it like crazy. But, Namazir's story is one of success. For every person who figures it out, there are tons of people who don't. To really get the power of these laws, we also have to look at the flip side, the stories of wealth lost, as told by Mathan, the great gold lender of Babylon.
Mathon had this really interesting system. Every time he made a loan, he'd take a little token as collateral. If you paid him back, you got your token back. But if you didn't, that token stayed in his chest forever. Each one was a permanent, physical reminder of a financial lesson someone had to learn the hard way.
Okay, let's reach into his chest and pull out the first token. It's a bronze neck piece. This belonged to a friend of Mathan's, a successful guy who completely lost his way and his fortune.
Yeah, he fell hard for a woman and spent every last coin he had trying to impress her. He completely broke the law about controlling your spending and, well, he ended up with nothing. It's a classic story of letting your desires run wild and ruin you.
Next up, Mathon pulls out this little turquoise beetle from Egypt. And this one's a sadder story. It's about a young man's inexperience and pride and a father who bet the family farm, literally, on his son's bad business ideas.
You know what the young man said when he lost everything? He didn't take any responsibility. He blamed it on ill fate, on bad luck. He broke the laws by trusting his own inexperience over wise counsel. And that refusal to learn cost his family everything.
So when you put them side by side, the contrast is just crystal clear. You've got Nomasir's path, saving, getting expert advice, and going for steady, reliable growth. And then you have the path of folly from that token chest, spending like crazy, trusting people who don't know what they're doing, and chasing impossible get-rich-quick schemes. Two paths, two totally different endings.
Okay, so this all leads us to the most important question. How does all this ancient wisdom carved on clay tablets help us guard our own treasure in the crazy, complex world we live in today?
Well, let's look at Law 4, stick to what you know. Even Arkad, the richest man in Babylon, admitted that his first big investment was a total bust. Why? Because he gave his life savings to a brickmaker and told him to go buy jewels. A brickmaker knows bricks, not gems. The lesson is timeless. Invest in what you actually understand.
And Law 5, wow, this might be more relevant today than it ever was. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings. Think about it. Every single get-rich-quick scheme, every can't-miss stock tip from a stranger, every investment promising insane returns with zero risk, it's all just a modern version of breaking this ancient, fundamental law. And this phrase, which Mathan the gold lender actually carved into the lid of his token chest, just says it all, doesn't it? It applies to everyone, back then and right now. A little bit of caution up front can save you from a lifetime of massive regret.
You know, the wisdom of Babylon has lasted for thousands of years because it's not about a specific time or place. It's about human nature and the laws of money, which just don't change. Their stories were written down on clay. The only question left is, what's your financial story going to be, and how are you going to choose to write it?
All right, so we've covered a ton of the rules for getting rich from ancient Babylon. But what happens when it all goes wrong? When you lose everything? Today, we're getting into what I think is the most powerful story in the whole book. It's a story about hitting absolute rock bottom and finding the one thing that can pull you back, the soul of a free man.
So let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in, well, about the most desperate place you can imagine. We're talking about a man who has lost it all, everything. He's been sold into slavery miles and miles away from his home in Babylon.
Now, the moment that completely flips his life upside down, it's not a whip, it's not a threat, it's just a single sharp question from his master's wife, Sarah. Just think about that for a second. The real power here isn't in his physical chains. It's all about his mindset. She's forcing him to look at the real reason he's in this mess.
So who is this guy, DeBosser? Well, he wasn't born a slave, not at all. He was a saddle maker, with big dreams and an even bigger taste for nice things he couldn't actually afford. Sound familiar? He fell right into that classic trap of easy credit, and pretty soon his debts were the real chains holding him down. He tried to run from his problems in Babylon, only to end up in a much, much more literal prison in Syria.
Okay, and this right here is the absolute core of the whole thing. This isn't really a story about money or even about slavery. It's about a battle going on inside one man's head, a fight between two completely different ways of thinking. And then Sarah just doubles down with this devastating observation. She's basically saying your status in life has zero to do with who your parents were. It's all about your spirit. Freedom, that's an inside job. And this just forces Dabasir to look in the mirror and ask a really terrifying question. Which one am I? Which soul do I actually have? And this is such a perfect way to show the two paths he's facing. On one hand, you've got the soul of a slave. It just accepts defeat. It whines, what can I do, and gives up. It's that little voice in your head that says it's hopeless. But then you've got the soul of a free man. And that mindset, it looks at life as just a series of problems that need solving. It doesn't waste time asking if it can be done. It asks how we're going to get it done. This is the mindset that finds a way, even when you're stuck in the middle of a desert with nothing. So there he is, out in the desert with literally nothing left. He's facing the ultimate choice. Give up and become just another story in the sand, or fight. And he chooses to fight. But here's the kicker. In that moment, he redefines his enemy. It's not the guards chasing him. It's not the scorching sun. It's the debts he ran away from back in Babylon. His new mission isn't just about survival anymore. It's about going back to conquer his own past. All right, so he's got this brand new fire in his belly. What does he do? He doesn't just wander back with some vague hope. No, he comes back with a rock-solid, concrete plan. A plan so simple and so powerful that, believe it or not, it would echo through thousands of years. And this is where the story gets, well, kinda unbelievable. Let's fast forward 5,000 years. Picture this, a team of archaeologists. They're digging around in the dust of old Babylon, and they stumble upon something absolutely amazing. A set of perfectly preserved clay tablets. So they start translating the ancient writing, and they realize this isn't some king's decree or an old myth. What they're reading is a personal financial plan. And the author? He says his name is Dabasir, and he's just come back from slavery in Syria, totally determined to pay off his debts and become a respected man again. They had literally found his comeback story, written by him in his own hand. And this was the plan. The brilliantly simple plan he carved into that clay. You ready? First, 1/10 of all I earn is mine to keep. That's the classic pay yourself first, right? Rule number 1. Second, 2/10, a full 20% shall pay my debts. He's getting serious. And third, the rest, the 7/10, that was for living, for food, for shelter, the whole shebang. This plan took care of his future, his past, and his present, all at the same time. Genius. And this part is so, so important. He didn't just disappear or ghost his creditors. He went and faced every single one of them. He showed them the plan, and he asked for their trust. Instead of seeing them as enemies, he made them partners in his comeback. And by sticking to that simple plan, day in and day out, he didn't just pay back every last copper. He earned back his honor and his self-respect. I mean, Dabasir's story is just incredible, right? But it makes you wonder, was he a one-off? Or did other people in Babylon figure this out too? Was this some kind of universal truth they all knew? Well, according to the book, the answer is a big no. So let's take a look at the exact same principle, but from a totally different angle. So let me introduce you to Sharu Nada. This guy was a merchant prince of Babylon, one of the richest of his time. But his journey to the top, it started when he was a slave, chained right next to a wise old farmer named Megiddo. And it was this farmer who taught him a philosophy that would completely change his life. Now, this is such a powerful way to look at things. For most people in his situation, work would be a curse, right? A punishment. But for Megiddo, work was his best friend. He saw it as the direct source of all the good stuff in his life. His farm, his crops, his freedom. He didn't work because he had to. He worked because it was the one thing that gave him power over his own life. And Sharu Nada, he took this lesson and ran with it. Just like Dabasir chose the soul of a free man, Sharu Nada chose to embrace work. He saw it as his ticket out. His hard work and his positive attitude didn't go unnoticed, you know? He made himself so indispensable, so valuable, that his master eventually offered him not just his freedom, but a business partnership. And that partnership, that became the foundation of his massive fortune. So, what's the big takeaway here? We've got these two incredible stories, one about a guy reclaiming his honor and another about a man building a massive legacy. What ties them together? Well, you've got two different men, a camel trader and a merchant prince. Their lives couldn't look more different on the surface. But the lesson they teach us, it's exactly the same. They both prove without a shadow of a doubt that where you are right now, your circumstances, that is not your destiny. What truly matters is your mindset and what you decide to do next. And that brings us to what might be the single most powerful line in this entire book. It's the truth Dabasir found out there in the desert, and it's the principle that Sharu Nada built his empire on. It's a timeless promise. It says that no matter how big the debt, no matter how tough the obstacle, no matter how bad the misfortune, if you have that unwavering determination, you will find a way. The way can always be found. So the question the book leaves us with is pretty simple. What way are you determined to find?